What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Humble Threads podcast. I am David Graves.
And I'm Michael Hart. What's up, everybody? If you're new here, we are so happy you decided to come join us today. But if you are a returning listener, if you could reach out to your platform of choice where you like to get your podcasts, leave us a review, leave us a rating there. It really helps us out and helps us reach new listeners. But without further ado, David, let's get humble. Talk to me. What's been going on in the world of Graves?
Man, not much, guys. It's pretty much the same old. But if you didn't know, me and Mike took a little quote unquote spring break, so we pre-recorded an episode. And we had my buddy Brett on, Composure, the Money Sign is an S. So if you haven't listened to that, it's the episode before this one. So go give it a listen. It was pretty fun. But other than that, a lot of housework, Mike. A lot of housework. I had to sand dinner chairs. I don't know if anyone has ever done that. It is not fun at all. So I was out there. My goal is to get 4 done before my girlfriend's sister's bachelorette party. I got them done. But other than that, guys, I've been kind of, being to myself and figuring certain situations out. And I saw Mike not too long ago. We went to a bonfire, which was also pretty cool to see people and reconnect. And on top of that, which Mike will probably talk to you about, but we had a D&D session, guys. It was our first D&D session. It was Star Wars themed. I had a blast creating it and getting everybody in there and prepared. So, Mike, what's been going on with you?
Yeah, definitely taking it easy. Really enjoying the nice weather that we've been having lately. Definitely been out in the yard a lot more. My dad took me out golfing. We did 18 holes over at I think Honeybrook Country Club or something. First time over there. It was actually a pretty nice course. I'm not a huge golfer, but it's just one of the few things that me and my dad get to hang out and do. So that was super nice. Obviously, over the past couple weeks since we had that pre-recorded episode, it was Mother's Day. My family is pretty low key about Mother's Day, but we always like to at least get together for a family meal. This year we did a Cinco de Mayo themed Mother's Day, so we had pork tacos, we had street corn, and just had a really nice time to getting together and seeing everybody. Got to see my sister who recently graduated from college.
Congratulations.
Shout out to Christina. It's a long time coming. Yeah. Congratulations indeed. And yeah, we me and Graves we got to hang out at a bonfire at one of our friends' houses. It's always a good time over there. It's always just chill vibes, very low key, just a very fun time. And of course, yes, David created a one-shot D&D 5th edition not even a campaign. It was a quick one-shot. It was Star Wars themed, I was actually one of the players. I played a character named Roy Flush, kind of an incompetent Han Solo. Decided first battle out of the gate he was nervous and needed to get drunk, and then got point blank to the enemy and just missed and whiffed both chances he had, and had to scour behind a droid while the rest of the more competent party members took care of the action. But it was a very good time.
I will say you were prepared, because everyone kind of had, for example, guys, everyone got their characters, and so we had a lot of new people coming in. We had some people who've played, but didn't really get the chance to prepare their characters. But I was like, all right, Mike, Roy sees 2 stormtroopers, what do you want to do here? And Mike pulled it out. He was like, yeah, I'm going to use this, and then I got this on this, so that means I get to move all the way back, but then I get to move forward, disengage, 2 shots, and I said, yo, Mike's prepared. Thank you.
Well,
so it was,
when you said, pleasure. I knew there was lots I could do as soon as you said, oh yeah, everyone in the party starts at level 5. I was like, level 5? I was like, yo, there's some cool stuff that you can do at level 5, pretty much in any class. I was playing some kind of gunslinger type esque operator class in the Star Wars realm, and it was a really good time. The whole session from character creation, because we had a couple party members that still needed some help rolling, but from character creation until the end of at least the one shot campaign that Dave wrote for us, it only took about 2 hours, and I feel like that's a really solid session for a one shot because they're not designed to be a full campaign. They're kind of designed to be open and closed, and with the opportunity to pursue further sometimes, but but probably more one shots of that. We had talked briefly afterwards that it would be very cool to actually design like a full campaign. I know myself and our buddy Billy is interested in eventually running a game. I think it'd be super cool. I've been looking at a kind of like an offshoot of D&D called Lasers and Feelings. It's a very kind of like dulled down version of D&D, and it's mostly just reactionary circumstances based on a die roll. It's not like, oh, I rolled a 10 and I get to do 10 damage or whatever. It's more like if you roll well, then you did the job, like kind of thing. Like versus it's like pass fail kind of stuff.
Kind of like Call of Cthulhu or something like that.
Yeah, kind of. So I think that'd be something super cool. I don't know, man. I mean, like, it's kind of while we're on the topic of D&D, like, what do you have anything in up your sleeve thinking about campaign style stuff, or where are you at currently on that?
Just as a warning for anyone who's like, yo, Star Wars D&D sounds cool, I will say that was I would say if you want to try, because it's very hard to build stuff around that because there's a lot of offshoots of Star Wars D&D. Like Disney, of course, made their own D&D thing, but they have their own dice. That's a little more confusing. Someone converted 5e into like a Star Wars game, so that's what we use. But it was kind of hard finding races with characters and classes. A lot of people pick their races outside of the book, which is completely fine because I want you to have creative freedom. But I think if we were to do a campaign, there's always D&D comes out with preset books with the stories, so they give you the scenarios and everything else like that, and you can customize them to your own thing. So I think I would love to do that because that means it's cutting off half the work. I just get to make it my own, and we also get to use D&D Beyond, not a sponsor, but D&D Beyond. If you ever, maybe we'll record some sessions or a campaign and see how you guys like it, but. That also helps because I get to see everyone's character sheets. They have pre-made monsters for you and everything. So I would love to run a campaign and see how you guys go because just for a little backstory of the game and what we did, it was pretty much an offshoot for like they had to rescue baby Rey from a ship that the Empire had her, and then Palpatine was trying to get her. Spoiler alert: Rey is Palpatine's granddaughter, but whatever. It was a lot of twists and turns. It was funny because they got to her and I said she had Sith stuff with her because they were going to train her to be a Sith. And immediately Mike and Billy go, yeah, we should kill her. And I was like, like I wasn't really prepared for that. But if he was going to kill her, we would see where it would go. But they ended up saving her, and then I made Ahsoka Tano come in, if you guys know who Star Wars is, and hearing Billy and Mike's reaction, like, no fucking way. That was like the reaction where I was like, yes, that's the end, it's the story. It's amazing. Guest characters come in, legacy characters come in, so long story short, yes, I would love to run a campaign, especially if I had more time to be able to get stuff together and for you guys, because I love seeing you guys excited, having fun, and everything. Laughing at Mike's character was probably the best part of the game. But what about you, Mike? Would you like to either run a campaign or would you like to join one? What are you thinking?
Both. 100% would like to join a long form campaign. I almost 100% of my day while working, I'm listening to actual play podcasts.
Same.
I listen to Friends at the Table, Dimension 20, The Adventure Zone, just to name a few. Even D&D, the D&D Dinner Party podcast. That one's awesome. And I listen to it all day, every day, and it just makes me want to get involved so aggressively. I would love to, I think, eventually do a DM. I'm not sure about campaign just yet, but I would 100% like to do some one shots.
Yeah.
Dabble a little bit, see if I like it. I think I'm creative. I think I can. Yeah. I think I could write something. I know there's a lot of source material out there that you can pull from, whether it's licensed, pre-written campaigns or just one shots that have like the loose pieces attached and then kind of give you the freedom to change it how you want. That's super cool. But question for you, would you, if you were to do a campaign or even another one shot, would you try to place that campaign or one shot within a already pre-designed world, kind of like what you did with Star Wars, or would you kind of want to further play in like the fantasy realm so that you weren't so tied down to canon in that way?
I would say I'd probably make it my own, but it'd be similar only for the simple fact that shout out to my DM Mario. He takes from these books, but we don't read them. So we can't really tell what he's changed or what he hasn't changed. We recently did Curse of Strahd, which is kind of a pre-built, like, big boss, mini episode within a campaign, but he made it his own. And then he told us, like, I'm running it for another group. And it was originally, like, kind of medieval times, like castles and everything. He's now switching it to Western. So you can kind of see how he's making it his own. But I would definitely make it my own and have, like, different names for it and stuff. But the issue is when you make that your own, you have to remember the names. You have to remember the names of the continents you have, and when it's just in the book and it's already there. But personally, to also bring it back to you saying you would love to run stuff, I think you could do it. For me, my training wheels were we did a Dungeons and Dragons like Jenga-esque type game. So it was kind of like those games where like the story's going, but depending on what you do, you never know. So mine was based in like a haunted theme, like a horror one, which I would love to run for you guys in October, maybe sometime. But every time the character wanted to do something, they had to pull a Jenga piece.
Got it.
And if it fell, either you die or you lose a limb or something like that. So that kind of gets your story sense going, and then eventually you can do like a regular one shot where it's like, all right, I got the story part down and how the flow should go. So how should the rules happen? So I think that'd be a good one. But
all right, bet. Like I'll figure something out.
I think you play a lot of Dead by Daylight, so I think you could do a horror.
I play a lot of everything. So like I think I could get something together. But yeah, gang, so life's been okay, life's been okay. Work's been okay. Things have been going well. But that's enough from us in this world. We're about to dump into some extra topics here after the break. So stick with us. Thanks for being here today. We'll be right back with a word from our sponsor.
And we can break. All right, cool. But yeah, it was that D&D game was a lot of fun. I called it, what did I call it? Did I call it The Crow? I called it The Crow or something. But it was pretty much like an occult coming to a town and everything. A lot of my friends had a lot of fun with it, but
sure,
I have it saved. So maybe one we could play it in October. Me, you, all of our horror fans.
Yeah, I mean, like I think I could definitely write something.
I think you got it.
I know I've got it. Like, and like I think I would do 5th edition. Honestly, I would, if I was going to do a one shot to make it easier on everybody, I would just have everyone select a pre-rolled character. Just pick it, like there'd be the basic archetypes, just everyone who's in the party, just pick one and then make it your own, change the name, change the whatever you want about it. But just like the main stats, everything, just that way no one has to do, no one's concerned like, oh, did I roll this right or whatever. Because if we were doing
reading, it's really
because if we were doing like a full size campaign, then I would want everyone to like actually build a character.
Yeah.
But if it's like a one shot, I think using pre-rolls is like a great way to do it because it gets you into the action like ASAP.
Most definitely. And that was my mistake because Star Wars doesn't have pre-rolls. So I was like, we're here, let's keep going. So
true. Although there was a link that you sent out that did have some pre-rolled characters on it that people could have used.
It did.
And I actually used one of those as like a brief like help guide to when I first built my character. But yeah, I think that's what I would do. Like, and then I think I could create like a dungeon-esque crawl experience with like, puzzles and, mini bosses and a major boss at the end and a final prize and whatnot. Like, I think I can absolutely figure that out.
on your free time, look at D&D Beyond. That literally, it has everything. And even if you wanted people to do custom characters, they make it so easy with that.
What's that cost?
Right.
I know you got.
It's free. It's free.
D&D Beyond's free.
Yeah. Really? The only thing you got to pay for is if like you want the books and stuff. But if I'm the DM, and say I buy like the 5th edition book, which we don't need because everything's in there. But say I buy a certain book, you guys have the book because I'm sharing it with you.
I have all of like the original books, like in PDF format somewhere.
Yeah, you don't, like I said, you don't need to buy anything. The only time you need to buy, I think they might have changed it. The only time you need to buy stuff is if you want to take a certain class, but it's like $2. So like if I wanted to be a Hexblade, Gunslinger, Warlock, that might be in there, and you have to buy it just because it has all that stuff in there. But I mean, they got to make their money somehow. So I'm like, I'd rather be a free app and I just buy what I want instead of like buying it and getting everything and I'm not using it all. Or
so do you like D&D or D&D Beyond better than Roll20?
Yeah,
because we use Roll20, right?
Yeah, Roll20 is more for encounters. D&D Beyond is more for your character sheet.
I see.
But we don't use Roll20, or we rarely use maps or anything. In the campaign I play, we're more like stage theater, like thinking in your head.
I mean, like I think a map in it of itself. Like, I mean, you had like location maps, like when we played. I more or less just expected this like a backed out view of like where we were.
Yeah. Oh,
like
our DM gives us that, so yeah, we have that. Like that. That's like at the most I would expect. I wouldn't expect every location to have its own mini map. You know, kind of just like you get to, like the DM says you can go left, right, or straight. Which way do you go? And then make the players decide versus having them see the map to make choices that way. But either way, okay. Check it out.
Yeah, no, I think I want to do it. Like it would be cool if like I did a one shot and then Billy did a one shot. Maybe we can convince Andy to do a one shot, and then that way we can all just get a taste of like each other's like, you know, DM style. And then like, cause maybe one of us will figure out like, wow, we actually love this. Like what, like, let's just like that person just wants to become, and maybe it's me. I don't know. Maybe it's whoever. I think Billy would have a riot with it. Like I think his campaign would be nuts.
He definitely has. His backstory was ridiculous, and I was like, Billy, it's a one shot, so like I might not be able to touch all of it, but yeah. So we could definitely talk about it. But
all right, cool. Let's dive back in. This is the end of the break, David.
I can tell by, I've gotten so good at it, I can tell by the speech waves, like when we're going.
Oh, yeah.
So even if we're still talking, I'm like, that's a lot of talking. And then it's just like not a lot of talking. So like I split it there, but I'll count us back in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome back, everybody. We are diving back into another episode or another mini segment of the King's Kitchen. So back before the break,
I feel like we need a whisper like the King's Kitchen. I don't know. We need something. I'll figure it out. Later on.
Okay. Anyway, back before the break, I mentioned that I went to like a Mother's Day Cinco de Mayo party, and I brought what I found to be is a TikTok sensation called street corn ribs. I saw the TikTok. If you haven't seen it, just go to TikTok or YouTube or anywhere that's got videos and just type street corn ribs. You can probably find it on recipes on Google as well. But I'll tell you how I made it pretty briefly. You basically get as much corn as you think your party's going to eat, because everyone eats about 1 ear of corn, maybe 2 at max. And what you're going to do is you're gonna quarter the corn it long ways. So you're going to cut it in long ways in half once, and then cut those 2 pieces in half again to make 4 pieces out of 1 piece of corn. You're going to, once you have all of them cut, you're going to brush them all down with a melted butter that's got taco seasoning in it. And then so you're pushing the melted butter in between all the little corn bits, and this is still raw corn at this point. And then once everything's kind of marinated, if you will, covered in the taco seasoning and the butter, you're going to put it on a baking sheet, 375 for about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how much corn you're using. And I recommend like halfway through just giving them a flip. And then when they come out of the oven, they'll be hot, obviously, but you're just going to put them in a big bowl. and you're going to sprinkle on top a little bit of pico de gallo, sour cream, a little bit of shredded cheese. If you're feeling it, throw some guacamole on there as well, and a little bit of cilantro to make it look pretty at the end. And I'm telling you, it'll be the rage of the party. And you don't even have to do this for a Cinco de Mayo or anything like that. You could probably do like garlic parm, like corn cob ribs. You could probably do barbecue corn cob ribs. It's incredible. When this goes live, check out our Twitter. I'll be sure to add a picture of the corn cob ribs that I made to that Twitter post so that you can see it firsthand.
Please go check it out, everybody.
Yeah, welcome to the King's Kitchen. This one's gonna be a party favorite for sure. David,
I saw it and I was like, "Hold what?" It looked like Mike might have got these pictures off of Google. I was like, "What the?" I wish I was there. But now I know what to get you for Christmas, because at TJ Maxx there's this corn rack holder for the grill. So like, and you could just turn them like whenever you wanted to. Like, all right, now I know.
If you have access to a grill and you want to do these on the grill, that's even a better idea.
I'm ready.
Because and what's crazy is when they start to cook and like the core starts to like dry a little bit from the heat, they start to bend and they look like ribs, and you just eat them like a rib. It's it's incredible, man.
Jesus Christ. Well, people, that sounds delicious. If you guys are wondering, David, what did you do for Mother's Day? Nothing really. I gave my mom a card, and that's about it. I love my mother to death, but me and her, we're very similar, as my brother likes to call it, and I'm also the baby in her eyes. So she's very overprotective and always making sure I need something. But, I got her a card. I don't... There's plenty of stories we can go through with my mom. She is hilarious, and taking her out to dinner is one thing we try not to do, because this lady will get like 5 entrees, and she only weighs like 112. Everybody, she's not a big woman, but I love my mother to death. I gave her a card, and I stopped by with my dog. Unfortunately, she wasn't home. My aunt was home, but she wasn't home, so I just gave her the stuff. And Coda was a little sad. I said, all she wants to see is Coda on FaceTime all day. That's all she wants to see, and she wasn't there. She missed her chance, but. That being said, I hope you guys had a happy Mother's Day. All you mothers out there, happy Mother's Day from us in the humble squad. Being a mother is no easy chore. But one thing I wanted to get into also with family and friends in business. I know a lot of our listeners out there are either a lot of me and Mike's friends, or just the general audience. So if you guys have been listening to the Joe Budden podcast, with no one listens to, I'll inform you a little bit about Joe. He was a rapper. He came out with Pump It Up. For you people in 2000s, Pump It Up from You Got Served, end song, that was the jam. But he he went into business a lot and was trying to do different things. He eventually made a podcast. About 8 years ago, he started the podcast. So this was like right before podcast was really getting there and everything. But plenty of deals. He started with 2 of his friends. Halfway through, he brought on 2 of his friends, is what I meant to say. And recently they've had a big falling out, and it kind of brought my eyes to seeing friendship, what money can do to friendship, what fame can do to friendship, and money doesn't change people. Money just makes you more of who you are. So that kind of brings you out, brings the person out of like who you're actually portraying to be. It makes you a worse person in my eyes, unless you're actually a nice person, want to give away some stuff, but. This has been going on for a month. It's sad to see. I really enjoyed the podcast. So it was kind of a way to get away for everyone else out there. If you go to the barbershop, a lot of guys sitting around talking about who's your best rapper, who's the best basketball player, what's the best band, everything else like that. They would talk about a lot, but unfortunately, him and one of his co-hosts had a falling out. There was a lot to do with contracts. Apparently, he shorted them on contracts, and he was flipping out about a lot of stuff. Treated them poorly in me and my brother's eyes when we were like listening to a lot of this stuff. But one thing that I wanted to bring this up, especially to talk to Mike about, is like friends and business. Mike, I know you've been in a band with your friends. Has contract disputes ever been brought up, or is someone making more than the other person? And like, how do you handle those situations? Because podcasting is relatively a new, form of business. Not a lot of people know how, contracts should go, how people should get paid, salary, percentile. We've been seeing this happening with, the Call Me Daddy girls. But Mike, I just wanted to get your viewpoint because I know you're coming from a band type of perspective, which I want to say is the closest thing maybe to podcasting. But let me hear it, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it's tough, but I mean, I think one of my two of my biggest internet idols, or just like not really idols, but people I just really respect is Rhett and Link. Famous for their company Mythical, their show Good Mythical Morning. They were actually on an episode of the Hot Ones YouTube channel with Sean Evans, and one of towards the end of the episode, they got to ask each other tough questions while they were eating these flaming hot wings. And one of the tough questions that Link had to ask Rhett was, has there ever been a business deal where you got paid more than me? And if anyone knows who Rhett and Link are, they are attached to the hip from a business point of view. They do everything together and so on and so forth. And Rhett had a really good answer. Rhett said, yeah, actually, there have been a few circumstances where I've made more. And Link was like, well, what do you mean? And he said, and because he wants the truth. And Rhett said back, he said, look, man, like, we decided when we first did this that we were going to split everything 50-50, except, for the longest time before we had a crew, I was running the QuickBooks. I was the one, filing all the taxes and making sure the payroll was correct. And there were a few times we got paid by some sponsors where it was off by like a penny because it just didn't flush out to being perfectly even. And I just figured, I'm doing the QuickBooks, I'm going to take that extra penny. And so, but when you think about that, you think about like, sure, yes, eventually, like, the money doesn't always shake down 100% even, but even to that degree, like, they're still splitting basically 100%. And he just found a roundabout way of saying, you know what, like, I'm doing the work, like, I'm just going to take that extra penny. It doesn't mean really anything. And obviously he always maintained that they were both paid. And that's kind of like how I've always viewed it. And like in kind of personally with the stuff I did with my band, everything was always evenly split, whether it was recording albums, buying the touring van, buying new merch, paying for gas. It was always just on a revolving, it's my turn this time, or it's your turn next time, or it's so-and-so's turn next time. If for the gas specifically, but when it came time to paying for albums and things like that, it was just an even split down the middle for however many members of the band we had at the time. I think at max we only had 5, but we usually settled around a 4-piece with the original members, and just splitting everything down the middle personally is the best way to do it. And a lot of honesty. You try not to bring your emotions to the table when you're talking business, even with your friends, because money can change people. People can get greedy, and I think it's important to have expectations from the get-go. That way, if any of those expectations begin to slip by any party, it's up to the other side to kind of keep that person in check. To be like, hey man, you remember the agreement, like, because I think what was always important thing for us in the band was that we always, no matter who was a founding member or who did what in the band, we always had this understanding that everyone is replaceable if you do not want to be a part of the band anymore. Agreed. And like, we love you, you are a part of this, but if there's ever a moment where you don't want to do this anymore, it's okay, we will replace you, and then that's it, like, you're done, like, and like, so it was always that like kind of gentleman's agreement. We didn't have a contract necessarily between the band members in terms of what was expected. It was just kind of that like unspoken agreement that if we were going to do this, we were all going to play full out, and we were all going to kind of pay our way the best that we could. Obviously there were some circumstances where some of us were either more financially able than others, and sometimes like maybe one of us would double up and pay for somebody else, but then that person would then just owe you, like, kind of like a line of credit. And that kind of kept us honest for a long time. It kind of made sure that we were always balancing our debts, making sure between each other and with everything like that. So I've never personally had like a serious contract falling out or contract dispute with like a friend. Except for the closest I could say is with music is whether or not, like, for the most recent, like, I think we a few episodes back we talked about how my band Gladiators, my guitarist Josh has completely kind of rebooted the band, whole new lineup, super supportive of everything like that. But there was a time when I was assisting with like early pre-production of some of the music that he was working on. And he had told me, he's like, I want to go to the studio, and it's going to cost this much, and you're obviously a part of this, so you're going to pay this much. And it was around that time when I made the choice. I was like, you know what, like, I'm getting married in a few months. I got things I got to plan for, and now I got a house. I got responsibilities to take care of, essentially. That he just wasn't. He wasn't at that part in his life. He was still in a position where he could spend the money and play and produce the music and stuff like that. And so at that point, it wasn't necessarily a disagreement. It was just a realization that my unspoken contract was coming to an end, and I decided to essentially cut it off because of things I wanted to pursue.
Yeah.
But I don't know about you, man. Have you ever had any friends in some level of business that, because I know you do graphic design on the side, and you've done it for some friends and things like that. So what's your experience with this?
Yeah, I'll touch on two things, like with graphic design, especially with that. The number one thing our professor said was, for any freelance, you need a contract. With graphic design, it's a little hard because there's a stigmatism when it comes to graphic designers, like, oh, they're just making art, but people forget, like, we went to school for this. This is what's putting food on our plate. Like, you need to kind of take this seriously as much as we're taking this seriously with your business. Which right now I'm reworking a lot of my contract and reworking a video for people to understand why we're asking for the amount we're supposed to be getting paid and why you should be honoring that. Which a great example for me, and I bring this up example to a lot of my clients, is if you open up a laundromat, and if people are working at that laundromat and you want to have, like, this company, you want to do all this other stuff, and you ask me for a logo, I'm going to charge you $1,000 immediately off. It should be $1,000. That's what I charge you at base. And people kind of go, whoa, that's a lot. And I say, well, if you think about this, you can put that logo on anything. If you want to sell shirts out of that laundromat, if you want to sell a detergent brand out of that laundromat with the logo on it, I'm seeing none of that money. You're seeing all of that money. I'm not seeing a percentage of it. Your contract says you pay me half before we start, which is $500, because that makes me know that you're serious, and that way we're legally binded because you gave me money. So I know you want to keep moving forward with this and actually make this happen. At the end, I get my $500. So just in case you cut it off halfway through, I'm getting paid for the work I've shown you. You own all of the sketches or anything I've given you, and then you can do whatever you want with it if you want to take it to another designer. But that's the biggest thing with my contracts with that. The closest thing I'll say that I have to, like, a situation where you were talking about, and kind of like the Joe Budden podcast, was when I started Street Vision. I started with two of my really close friends. We're still really close, but I started it and I started to realize I was taking it a little bit more seriously than they were. I kind of came up with the name, and I brought them on and I said, yo, we're like fashion guys. Like, we should really get into this. I would send them designs. I'd hear no. I wouldn't get a response, or they would kind of just forget about it and do their own thing. And eventually I just said, like, we didn't sign a contract. We didn't do anything else like that. Like, I'm going to take this and go. You guys don't seem to really care. It didn't really form a rift between us, but they kind of did their own thing, and went like a crazy fashion route and was wearing some crazy stuff. But I eventually realized if I was going to bring anyone on something with me, they need to be as passionate as I am or understand what needs to happen. To kind of bring it full circle to our podcast, Jamie introduced me to Mike, and me and Mike was streaming. Mike kind of took me under his wing to understand streaming, the inner workings of streaming and everything else like that. A lot of people knew Mike's situation, as far as, like, COVID and everyone's getting laid off and blah, blah. So we started streaming. I would give him money for streaming because, money's money at the end of the day. You can't take it with you when you die. Help out somebody if you can. Please, God. So that would happen. Mike heard about my situations I was talking. Mike would come on my channel, like, host me, send me money. And I was like, Mike seems like a really personal guy. especially when this started to come into fruition, the wheels started rolling. I said, Mike has the same ideology as I do. If we were ever to get signed by someone like Barstools or anything else like that, Mike is the last person I think I would have an argument with as far as contracts, money, percentages, split ups. Because literally me and Mike's conversations are, hey, do you want to look this up? Yeah, I got you. All right, that's it. That's literally our conversations, which is the easiest, business partner I could probably ever get. So, that's, I would say, the only time that's happened is with Street Vision, I would say. And owning your own stuff isn't bad. I will say that it teaches you to learn every aspect of what you're doing. And no one can screw you over. So you own all your stuff. But that being said, guys, cherish your friends. If you have a friend with business, before you guys start, try to set some guidelines. Please go over contracts. Please talk about everything. I've been there. Mike has been there. But Mike, you recently have been watching my favorite show. I've watched it 8 times in a row when the first 3 seasons are out. So,
wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, so we are hyped about a TV show called My Hero Academia. Mm-hmm. It's an anime show. You can find it on Hulu. And it's probably on a couple other places throughout the internet. Funimation, all of those. And so I'm relatively new to the game. I actually only found out about it because my sister is recently just gone absolutely obsessed with it and buying all the figures and things. And I was like, what is this show? Like, I love anime. I love like that. I love stuff like that. So I was like, how have I not heard of this yet? Mm-hmm. And it's My Hero Academia. It's it's basically about a bunch of kids who live in a society where everyone at the age of 4 is given a superpower, essentially. And then some people become heroes, some people become villains, some people are just kind of average people because their superpower isn't so super. It's just kind of like an extra ability that they have. And, it's just such a really amazing, like the writing, I think, is so good. Like it's very compelling. There have been many, many moments in just the first couple seasons that I've been brought to tears because of how emotional the TV show gets. And it's a cartoon, right? And I was asking my wife this the other day. I was like, who do you think this is written for? Like, is this for kids or is this for adults, or like, who is this for? And we kind of came to this realization it's probably for everyone, because there are stories that are being told that kind of chime for the younger audience, but versus there's these overarching plot lines and stories that you really don't get if you're only looking at like the main characters. Like there's a whole plot story that kind of went on in the early seasons with the main character Midoriya's mom. Like what's her, there's the things that her story kind of little let you in on throughout the plot lines and everything like that. But if you are looking for an awesome show to binge and just enjoy, if you've never checked it out, My Hero Academia. But with this, I wanted to ask you, David, a question, and I'll answer it too. But in the show, their superpowers are called quirks, and you don't get to choose what the quirk is, and not everyone gets one. Only about 80% of the people in that world actually get one. The remaining 20% are just normal, quirkless people. But if you could pick a quirk to have based on maybe one from the show, which one would you have?
Man, honestly, the only one that has stood out to me because he's crazy, but his backstory is wild, is Todoroki. The half fire, half ice. That, like, you literally have both sides of the coin at that point. Because flames, you can put it out, you can freeze people, you can create destruction if you wanted to. But that's the quirk I would choose. What quirk would you choose if you could choose one?
Honestly, like I was thinking about this a lot, and I was tempted to pick a character that I just like a lot because maybe I like their character arc. Like it would be easy for me to say, like, Mr. Aizawa, otherwise known as Eraserhead. He can, just by looking at somebody, he can temporarily disable their quirks. I think that's pretty OP. But honestly, I've really started liking Fat Gum. And Fat Gum is this very large dude who wears his tracksuit. And like at first, when you meet the guy, like you kind of just figure out that okay, he can take a lot of damage. He kind of absorbs things into his stomach fat. He's this really big dude. And we just got to a part of the season where you kind of learn more about what his ability does. and you learn that he can actually absorb damage, and his body then converts the fat to kind of take in that damage and absorb it, and then he's able to use all of that absorbed damage and do a counterattack in a similar way as like the main big super quirk in the show called One for All. And it kind of does, but this is kind of more you need to take the hit first before you can give the blow back. And I like that concept, and he obviously has to keep eating to kind of keep his fat going. He must have a really wild metabolism.
Yeah,
but like I like that ability to be able to get hit, and it only makes you stronger. Even though in your strongest, and when you are at your strongest, you are actually at your weakest. Like that. Beckham can't continue to take hits once he reaches that limit, and I think there's something really special about that. I don't know.
Dude, this show has touched on something that hasn't been touched on since the 2000s. And a lot of people always ask, like, 2000 shows, like, are they for adults or are they for kids? SpongeBob, it's for everyone, because there's things in there that you realize as an adult and you're like, holy crap, and then as a kid you kind of like skated past it, but it's still a funny show. Dragon Ball Z is one of them. I watched Dragon Ball Z when I was very young. X-Men, the animated series, but they have stuff for kids to believe in themselves, to understand the world. And it kind of lightens the load with a lot of the things that they learn in the world. Death is something that happens. Life is something that happens. If you never give up, you can always, rise to new heights and certain things. And that hit something that hasn't been touched in a while in anime, cartoons, any of that. So they definitely hit the gold mine with that. But you're only at that part, man.
I know. I have so much to go. Like I know, like I am just there now. Like just before we hopped on this episode, I was just finishing up that episode where he kind of shows his true colors. But yeah, I mean, there's something really special about this concept, because like other than we'll get into this more in the next topic, but like in terms of superheroes in general, right? You think Marvel, you think DC, Spider-Man, Superman, Batman, who all of the superheroes, if you think about it, in those worlds, like 99% of everyone is just a normal, and then the 1% are these crazy superheroes, whether they are from an alien planet, they got bit by a radioactive spider, or they got zapped by like a radioactive cannon, or however else they got their powers, or maybe they're just super wealthy and have a lot of gizmos. No matter what it is, but in those worlds there is just this one vigilante, this one icon in those individual comic books. But in this world, 80% of all people gain some level of quirk or superpower. So it kind of it breaches the gap of like, oh, now there's just like this one or this the Justice League, this one team that can save the world, or the Avengers and stuff like that. Now it's a whole world that where a good majority of you can fight for themselves. And or do some pretty incredible things, even if you don't reach like hero class. Maybe you have a quirk that allows you to read books really quickly, and you could just have a beautiful life and enjoying literature. Like, I don't know, like there are so many things that when you start thinking about, anything can be a quirk, any ability or anything you can think of, and no matter how small or simple it can be in this world, anything can really be a quirk. Like the one dude has like tape that flies out of his elbows that he can like swing on like a Spider-Man can and stuff like that. And that's super bonkers weird, but like who cares? Like when there's seemingly no limit to what a power can be in this world, it really does provide that opportunity of that underdog story. And that's really what it is, really what it's about. It's a true underdog story, and I cannot recommend it enough to anyone who's willing to. And honestly, a lot of people don't like watching anime with dubs on, because sometimes the traditional voice actors just sound better, and you're going to want to read the subtitles. But honestly, for me, the dubs on this are incredible. They are worth listening to, and obviously enjoy as you prefer. But I'm definitely a fan of the dubs on this one.
Me too. I've always been a dub person, but continuing on the superhero train, I know we had a question a couple weeks ago about the new Falcon and the Winter Soldier show, but we're going to lump it all the way into a lot of the superhero genre that's going on because I feel like it's getting revitalized. And I also feel like Marvel is always and always will be steering the ship as far as any franchises and where they should go. But just to touch on Falcon and the Winter Soldier pretty quick, the season finale was a while ago, but I felt like they did the show justice as much as people are kind of giving it flack. But it had everything it needed in there. It had, spoiler alert if you guys haven't seen it. I hope you've seen it, but I'll be touching briefly on some stuff. There was another Captain America before Captain America, and he was black, and he was treated poorly by the American government. They tried to kill him, everything else like that. But they gave you closure at the end from the new Captain America, which is Falcon. So it kind of pulled a lot towards a lot of the heartstrings. They didn't hold any punches. They went full into it. Chris, I think it's Chris Mackey. I think that's his name. Amazing actor. But towards the end of the show, they had Captain America talking to the senator about things that are going on. The senator wants to get people out of certain areas since the snap happened and people are coming back. But he pretty much sits there and says, this needs to stop. And the senator's like, what do you know anything about this? And he immediately turns around like, I'm a black guy wearing Captain America's suit. What do you mean? What do I need to know about this? And just seeing that was kind of like, holy crap, like you don't realize, like this is the most controversial thing that you guys probably never saw coming. You got people that probably hate him and love him just watching him on TV. But, one thing that he stated was, you are the people in power. You are the people who need to control things and do things, a certain way, or there's going to be another person like, the flag smashers that they brought up, which were the terrorists that kind of tried to kill them to save themselves and their people. But we're kind of the enforcers. And he kind of brought it back to Thanos and everything else like that. But I think the show was well thought, well put together. Just the way they portrayed America and just bringing him. I don't think they could have brought him into the role of Captain America any better than what they did. But that being said, coming still into this and coming out of that review, 10 out of 10 from David if you need the review. Mike, did you get to see the season finale at all? I know there's a couple things we'll touch on in this topic. But
I did not actually. I've not personally finished it. No, I know. But I know. I mean, unfortunately, it's been ruined for me. The sad truth about anything that's like crazy pop culture these days is if you're gonna be on social media, someone's at some point is gonna show some clip, and you're gonna see the most important part. So like, I do plan to go back and rewatch it just so I can see everything. But yeah. I know how it all kind of goes down. One thing that I can say specifically positive about the show is that like it really felt current. Mm-hmm. Like the only thing that would have made it more current is if they acknowledged the pandemic, which obviously was filmed probably before.
No, they actually put it in there and took it out.
Oh, did they? Okay, because like I was gonna say, like because of how current everything felt, like in terms of how they were shooting it, in terms of like how life seemed and how the world felt, because versus like with like WandaVision finally got you there, like on that final episode. But the whole time you're kind of going through time, kind of through that sitcom environment. So it's still kind of like kind of fake, but kind of real. This kind of like what is real. And then Falcon Winter Soldier came around, and it was like, this is the real world. This is what it is.